Welcome to A Meaningful Marketplace.
I'm Sarah Masoni from Oregon State University's Food Innovation Center, where I've helped countless dreamers launch their new food products. It's the science of taking a food delight from the kitchen to mass manufacturing and still keeping its great taste. That's what I do. I've been called the woman with the $1 million palate, although I haven't tried to cash that check yet. Listen in weekly for real-life stories.
I'm Sarah Marshall, owner of Marshall's Hot Sauce and author of Preservation Pantry, modern canning from root to top and stem to core. I love inspiring business owners to get started on their journey, encourage folks to be part of their local community, and I'm excited to help business owners tell their stories.
Hello and welcome to the Meaningful Marketplace. We are here weekly to discuss the journeys of food entrepreneurs. And we are so glad you joined us today as we bring you stories of hope and inspiration. This is Sarah Masoni of Oregon State University's Food Innovation Center. Sarah Marshall is away traveling and eating and drinking her way through London. So she'll be back next week. So we're going to talk about some food news here today. And one of my great accomplishments over the last 2 weeks is I recovered from my own personal round 2 of COVID. And I am so grateful for feeling better. And any of you out there suffering from that malady, I completely feel your pain. I'm sure you'll be better soon. I'll be traveling to Denver this Friday to help with Pitch Fest. That's happening at Spur. It's at Colorado's Food Innovation Center in Denver. And you might remember Mike Gable. He helped host some of the interviews we did for Colorado. And I'm really looking forward to that meeting. There's going to be lots of participants and people attending the food fair on Saturday with 34 vendors. It's going to be a great assembly of great food from Colorado. I had the great fortune of spending this past weekend in the Olympic Peninsula, where I dipped my toes in Lake Crescent. It was just beautiful. I guess they only have 2 types of fish in that lake. It doesn't have any nitrogen, so it's crystal clear blue, and it was beautiful. I read that at 694 feet deep at the lowest point.
Wow.
I am not alone today. We're partnering with the Regional Food Business Center to bring you guests from our 6-state region. And we're currently meeting business owners from the great state of Montana. I'd like to welcome our co-host, Hailey Vine, from the Montana Department of Agriculture. Hailey, thank you for being our Montana expert while we meet all these wonderful new people and friends from Montana. Yeah.
No problem. Happy to join. And I think I'm going to learn just as much as you guys.
That's great. Do you have any food news from Montana for us today?
I guess what we're gearing up to host right now in October is our food and beverage food show. So that's where we promote a lot of our food and beverage businesses in the state, and we bring buyers from all across the region to connect them to retail and wholesale opportunities. And new this year, we are actually having a food and beverage manufacturing summit for a lot of the producers the next day. So that will be a day full of educational resources, networking, you name it. It's just going to be a great 2-day event in October, hosted in Missoula.
And what were the dates in October, just in case?
October 14th is the show, and then October 15th is the food summit.
That's great. And I also heard a rumor that your business builder grants are coming up soon. Do you know much about that yet?
Yeah, we are meeting with our steering committee to finalize the details of what that will look like, but we really hope to have those underway by the start of 2025.
That's excellent. That's a great opportunity for food businesses to get some funding through participating in some technical assistance programming that's happening through the Regional Food Business Center. So we would like to encourage all of our listeners to connect with your state by signing up for the Regional Food Business Center newsletter. It's a breeze to sign up. Just go to the Northwest Rocky Mountain Regional Food Business Center.com website, hit connect with us, and choose the button to receive our newsletters. We want to thank our sponsor for supporting the Meaningful Marketplace. Thank you for helping spread the word about small business owners and entrepreneurs. Let's hear a word from our sponsor.
The Northwest and Rocky Mountain Regional Food Business Center is the proud sponsor of the Meaningful Marketplace podcast. giving a voice to food from across the 6-state region of Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Oregon, Washington, and Wyoming. The Food Business Center supports Northwest and Rocky Mountain food industry makers as part of the USDA's National Network of Food Business Centers, supporting a more resilient, diverse, and competitive food system as a go-to source for small and mid-tier food and farm businesses with a focus on underserved communities, providing education in the form of technical knowledge, business programs, and industry news. We sponsor trade shows, meetups, and conferences to connect growers, producers, retailers, distributors, and processors, all to stimulate business and raise the standards of our storied food industry. Join us as we travel through the 6-state region, learning more about food makers, food hubs, and food systems. Visit the website at Northwest Rocky Mountain Regional Food Businesses.com to get connected.
All right. We are not alone in the studio today. And I'd like to introduce you to our guest, Mara Veale of VOXY Shrubs. Welcome, Mara.
Hello, thanks for having me.
And you're in Ronan, Montana, or somewhere in that area in Montana?
Our orchard is up in Polson, Montana, up on Flathead Lake.
I was wondering if you were growing up along the Flathead Lake. That's a great place to grow cherries.
Yep, we're out on Finley Point. That's right on Flathead Lake.
That's great. So we're delighted to have you on the show today, and we'd like to connect our listeners to you and give them the best way to follow your story. How can they find you on social media or online?
So my website is feelingvoxy.com, or on social media, I have Facebook and Instagram, and it's also Feeling Voxy or VOXY Shrub.
That's a great name. Let's start at the beginning. When did you start your business, and what inspired you to name your company VOXY Shrubs?
Okay. Well, so my business I have had my license since January. So I'm really new and fresh and just learning all this right now. Fresh in that way, but we've had our orchard now for 14 years.
Okay. So did you plant the trees, or were they there already when you got there?
We planted the trees. My husband and I, we bought a piece of land up there about 15 years ago. And the two of us cut down 2 acres of trees and then took those trees to a local place in town, Dupuis, and had them mill them. And we built a timber frame home and then straw bale. And then we had 2 acres of land that we had cut the trees down. So we ended up planting 120 apple trees to begin with.
Okay.
And then we still had like almost a half an acre of land that it was open. When I always wanted apple trees and he wanted cherries. So about 4 years later, we ended up planting 100 cherry trees.
How long does it take cherry trees to mature and produce fruit?
Well, so it ended up taking about 4 years. We started getting cherries. And then about our 5th year is kind of where VOXY Shrub came from, because our 5th year, we ended up having this huge cherry crop. And all we had done with our fruit before this point was we would do U-pick, and then I'd sell it to CSAs and stuff like that. But the cherry crop produced so many cherries, and it was very overwhelming because the cherries go from not ripe to bad within weeks. And then their shelf life is not that long. And I can't waste anything. So I tried to figure out a way to use the cherries, and ended up getting connected with Mission Mountain Food Enterprise in Ronan. And it's a place
great spot.
Yeah. Oh, it's fabulous. It's made my business so it could actually be. So we take our cherries there and they process them and then freeze them. And then as soon as the cherry season slows down, we can go in there and they have a commercial kitchen. So my husband and I go up there and we make the shrub and bottle it and label it all from there.
Let's go back to a comment you made about zero waste, because I looked at your website before our call today and I was like, I think this lady believes in zero waste. Can you tell our listeners what that means to you? What does zero waste mean?
Oh, I can't. From like when we had our apples, like I use every apple possible to do U-pick for people buying them, and then personally making applesauce, apple cider, like every way you can use apples. And then even from the drops on the ground, I don't like to leave the drops on the ground. So we pick them all up, and we found a couple people in town that have pigs, and we bring our apples to them and they feed the pigs, and then they in exchange, which we didn't intentionally like ask for meat back, but we've have this relationship now that we bring all of our apples there, which apples were a lot easier than cherries. They just, it's such a short window. So when we first had this cherry crop, we actually went in and met with Jan at Mission Mountain, and I had a list of like, I feel like 15 ideas of what I could do with the cherries, and kind of worked our way through. And after going through everything with her, like shrub is, I don't know, it's a fabulous way to use cherries because
It's
you
so
can.
beautiful to the color,
Oh, it is.
flavor, everything.
I agree, everything. And its shelf life then is 2 years. So
That's great.
it takes like, so I can pick the cherries, bring them to them, and then they're frozen in time.
Mm-hmm.
So we have time, and then their kitchen opens up and we can make the shrub. And then once it's made, it then has 2 years to be consumed.
And that's great because you're adding value to those cherries by extending the shelf life through this process.
Yeah.
So is that product considered acidified food, or because of the vinegar, it's how does that work? How do you get a shelf life of 2 years?
Wow. So I had to have all the things. So starting a business like this, I'm not a business major, and I don't, I'm a nurse. So all
Yeah.
of this very a nurse and have our orchard, but learning all that, that's what we had to have it tested to see the acidification and all that. And yes, because of that, it has the 2 year shelf life.
So is it heated and then you fill the bottle hot and so you're following acidified foods process.
Yep.
So for our listeners out there who might have some fruit you're trying to produce into something like a shrub, you would have to get a process approval from a process authority and then follow a specific heating process to get that jar sealed and ready to sit on the shelf. But does anyone ever keep that product for 2 years? It seems like it's way too delicious to hold on to for that long.
I can't imagine. I feel like I go through about a bottle a week at least.
That's great. So how do you think about sustainability then? Zero waste is all about sustainability. And I heard you say that you cut down trees and built your house from the trees on your property. That's amazing.
Yeah. We try to use everything that we grow. And I don't ever plant a tree that I can't in some way, or any kind of plant that I can't in some way use it. Even from like, we planted maple trees that someday we hope to get maple syrup out of.
That's great. So here's a question for you about the location you're in, Flathead Lake. Can you tell people a little bit about that region of Montana?
I feel like I'm not the best historian, but Flathead Lake, most of it is on a reservation, and it is absolutely gorgeous. The lake is like one of the largest, I don't even know the fact, it's one of the largest, maybe somebody else on here knows, whether it's the largest in the West.
Could be. It's right on the edge of a national park, right?
Yep, Glacier National Park.
Yeah, it's the largest natural body in the West.
There we go.
Freshwater by surface area. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
But you were talking about how you were just at that lake that was crystal clear. That's Flathead Lake. It is like the most crystal clear, beautiful water.
I can see myself swimming through eating cherries, like laying on my backstroke, having a bowl of cherries, just like eating them. That sounds like a great vacation.
It does.
So you said that you're using the Mission Mountain kitchens over there in Ronan. Can you tell us a little bit about the process of connecting with them and how you did that?
Actually, I don't originally know who told me about them, but they're like one of the main processors up there. So when we started, we were doing everything organic. Well, we do probably up until this season, pretty much 100% of everything ourselves, from planting the trees to mowing to pruning to spraying, like everything ourselves. And we're doing it organically. One problem that we found with that is that it is very time consuming doing everything organically. And we never had any intentions of being certified organic because that's more work. And using Mission Mountain, you can't ever have, like, they have everybody else's cherries are there. So if you have any bugs, if you have aphids in there, and you infected somebody else's cherries, you have to be really thorough with it. So this last season, we actually ended up hiring somebody to spray, which in the end this was a really sad season and we ended up getting no cherries. The frost, that
Oh, no.
the freeze in June, it killed almost everybody's buds. So
Ah,
there was no cherry crop this year.
Yeah, I
Geez.
wanted to ask you guys
Yeah.
how you were affected because, like, I know for sure the east part of the lake was hit like super, super hard. So I was curious because I know Jan had told me a few on the western side had survived. So I was wondering how that impacted this year's crop.
Yeah, not us. We lost. I think we got like 5 or 6 bowls of cherries is all this year.
Oh, dang.
Oh,
Yeah, it was really sad. But right now, it didn't kill our trees, which I'm very thankful it didn't kill our trees. So we'll have a crop hopefully next year. And then it didn't kill. We have 120 apple trees, and it's like apple season right now. And we have an insane apple crop right now. Probably one of our
Oh.
best crops we've ever had.
so do you make shrub from the apples too, or just the cherries?
My
Might
plan
have to pivot.
well, my plan will be to eventually, but I have my 2 flavors right now.
Mhm.
And I think I will expand into an apple one too, just because I have so many apples.
All right. So I haven't asked you yet. What are your 2 flavors?
So we have flathead cherry elderberry and flathead cherry mint.
Yum.
It sounds so good.
Yes,
And do you incorporate other local ingredients in your product?
I do. I try to do everything as local as I can. So cherries from up there, either ours or we have a neighbor that we used last season, some too. Organic apple cider vinegar that we get from Idaho. And then our honey is local honey that we get from Arlie. And then the mint I grow out in our orchard, and the elderberries I grow some out in the orchard, and the rest are just local from around here too.
I love elderberries. I mean, you could do just an elderberry shrub, I think.
You
Did the
could,
elderberries make it through the freeze?
yes. So actually, that's what I spent half of today was dealing with elderberry and picking elderberries and then peeling them off the thing so that I can freeze them, have them for this winter to make more shrub.
That's
So, what will
great.
your shrub line look like this year, just given the frost?
So I have, I think, like 800 pounds of cherries still frozen.
Okay.
So I can
Oh.
use that. And then I connected with another orchard up on the side that has skeena. We have skeena cherries, which that's a flathead cherry, but they are red. I don't know. They're supposed to be a hardier and they're red and they make the juice redder. And I connected with her and she maybe has a little bit of juice that I can do, but it's going to be it'll be a smaller, I just won't expand more this year, which is okay because I'm learning. Or I'll expand. Maybe I'll start doing the apple shrub since I have so many apples.
One of the things I was admiring on your website is that you have a long list of delicious beverages people can put together. Can you tell us a little bit about those beverages? Are they all things you've developed?
Yes. So when I started making the shrub, I tried all different ways, like just experimenting with a bunch of different recipes. And then like making it with, because some shrubs are made with sugar. And no matter what my recipe was, anybody that tasted the one that had honey, everybody liked better. So I kind of started experimenting that way. And then when I came out with my shrub, I personally and then friends and family, I would have them. I would like anything you come up with, like let me know, and then we would try it out. And I love shrub, so I feel like I'm kind of biased, but I love shrub. But I feel like any beverage, like a gin and tonic, and you have one gin and tonic there, and then you have one, and you put a splash of shrub on top. It just, I don't know, it accentuates it. We've kind of found with everything. And then this year, I'm at the farmers market in Missoula. I've told people, like, as they buy the shrub, and I have like people that come back week after week, but I tell them if you come up with any sort of recipe, email it to me and I'll add it to my website. And they get to name their shrub. They get to name their shrub drink.
Oh, that's
fun.
how you have all those great names.
So that's where a lot of them have come from.
Have you made them all and tried them yourself?
I have it. The most recently somebody was telling me one with dragon fruit, which I haven't added it to my site yet. And I haven't that one yet. It's because lots of people like it because you don't have to add alcohol to it, and you can make a delicious mocktail with all different kinds with mint, or I'll have to try the dragon fruit one.
Okay, so I have a game for us. So this is a game about numbers, and I'm going to ask some questions and see if either of you have any answers for it. So I want to know, do you know how many tons of cherries are grown in a good year in Montana?
Oh,
I don't.
I don't either. I can't even, I bet it's a huge number.
It is. It's 730 tons or 1.825 million pounds of cherries.
Oh
Wow.
my goodness.
That's amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
That's impressive,
you?
especially from it being in like that one as our predominant growing area. That's crazy.
Yeah. And just to let you know, in the US, the total tonnage for cherries is 275,000 tons or 229 million pounds of cherries grown in the US.
Wow.
Huh. That's
So,
great.
Mara, don't worry if you ever need to get cherries. There's other places that are growing them. So,
Yeah.
Montana is actually contributing about 2.6% of the US total of cherries grown, which is impressive.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Here's another question for you. Let's see if you have the answer. What type of soil do cherry trees like best? Acid or alkaline?
I bet alkaline.
Yeah, I
You
wanted to say
got it.
alkaline too.
Yep, you got it. They like alkaline soil and lots of drainage, so sandy soil. So I bet that's why they grow so well along the lake because there's
Yeah.
probably lots of sand.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Last question for you. Do you know when typically is the best week for cherry harvest in Montana?
I bet it's the last week in August or July, not August. Last week
Yeah, I
in
was to say
Sorry.
July.
Yep, you're right. It's between the second and fourth week of July. All right, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about some things that Hailey's working on. Oregon State University's College of Agricultural Sciences and the Food Innovation Center are proud sponsors of Meaningful Marketplace. With a mission to serve all Oregonians, we are committed to giving voice to those whose food and agricultural stories are not always heard. By providing access and opportunity for a more diverse and just food system, because food brings people together. All right, Hailey, just to give us a little bit more background on the state of Montana, can you tell us a little bit more about agricultural statistics in Montana?
Yeah, I can come up with a few for you. Montana is definitely known for our cattle commodity being number one. We are definitely a state where our cattle outnumber our people. I want to say the ratio now is there's 2 head of cattle per person in Montana. So everyone in Montana could have a pet cow if they wanted to, and
Wow.
we keep those numbers up. Yeah, but besides cattle, definitely some of our top producing crops, when you don't think of our specialty crop industry, that includes our cherries, would be for sure our wheat, hay, and pulse crops. So pulse crops are your legumes, your beans, lentils, chickpeas, dry peas, top or items like that. And I think the last I had visited with one of our like statisticians, we have about 58 million acres that attribute to like land and farm and ranches. And that can be broken out in a variety of ways, whether it's rangeland where the cattle just graze or cropland where we're seeing active production. So, yeah,
That's cool.
a lot of ground.
Hey, you know what? That gives me an idea, Mara. What about talking to the pig farmers that you provide with hummus and leftover fruit? What about having them finish the animals with the fruit and then you harvesting one and having a big pig roast out on your farm and invite people in to celebrate by enjoying fruit and pork?
Fabulous idea. My husband is on the fire department. He often goes off on fires. And when he goes away, I usually get a new animal. So
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, because I've heard of chefs here in Portland doing that. They like will have farms finish, their animals in a certain way, and then they'll have a big feast with those animals. Because
heard
the
of-
terroir, you could have like the annual Flathead cherry roast pig celebration or something like that. That would be kind of fun.
That's a fabulous idea.
I've heard carrot finished cattle, so I think cherry finished pork sounds great.
I mean, cherry finished cattle might be delicious as well.
There you go. Just hit it all.
Something to think about. All right. So I want to know, Mara, can you tell us what product that you have tells your story best? the cherry shrub, or is it something else?
Oh God. I feel like probably right now the cherry shrub, because I feel like it's us working as a family. The orchard is like, we love our orchard very much, and it's a lot of work, and we do everything in there. It's my husband and I and our three kids doing everything in that orchard, from like everything. And I kind of love the finished product is something that I love so much. And I love it when people like come back and tell me how much they love it. And then I have it in Missoula. I have it in a bunch of grocery stores. And my
Oh,
children think I'm ridiculous, but I
which
want,
stores are you in?
we are in the Good Food Store, Orange Street Food Farm, Green Source, Rock and Rudy's. We've done like all the local places around town.
Nice.
Tuska.
Where are you up in Kalispell?
I'm not anywhere yet. So I'm trying to, no, I'm trying.
That's where I live. So I like had to
Maybe
go ahead and
Hailey
find out
can
where I
help
could
you
go.
find the perfect spot.
Yeah, Whitby's sounds like a great place.
I know. I need to, it's just restocking places is the hard thing. And I actually today, I've been talking to, there's a distributor out of Bozeman who kind of does the whole West. I sent him a couple samples and my sell sheet and all that stuff just to try to figure out a way to like, that's kind of my biggest obstacle is to like get it out past here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, Mara, do you also ship to people? So if they go on your website, can they order from you?
Yep, I do. I have shipping on there. Absolutely.
And what's a typical order look like for somebody going on your website? Are they buying 1 bottle, 2 bottles? And how do you ship that?
It depends on the person. And I feel like, because I feel I'm so new, and I feel like either people really love the people that love my product really love my product. So I have some friends of mine who have given them to family members, like kind of all over the country, who have become obsessed with it. And then they'll
Oh,
4 bottles at a time.
that's really nice. And so the best way to find you is on your website?
Yep, that's feelingvoxy.com.
So feeling Voxy, that's kind of a play on words, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Why don't you tell us how you came up with that? That's cute.
Oh, we kind of went around and around with names, and then I couldn't find anything that I really liked. And then I found Voxy, and Voxy, one of the definitions is changeable, which I'm changing my cherries into shrub. And then
Ah,
kind of love Voxy, rhymes with foxy, and
yeah. That's
that's
what I immediately thought of, feeling Voxy.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Plus, it gives people, I mean, if you don't drink alcohol, you can make a non-alcoholic beverage that's delightful too. Do
Yep.
you have a lot of non-alcoholic folks drinking the shrub?
I do. And I feel like I came out in January, and lots
It's
of people
dry January.
by January. So people were like, I did this at a running store here in Missoula. They had like a ladies' night there.
Mm.
And I brought a bottle of gin and my VOXY Shrub and bubbly water and was making people drinks. And it was funny. I figured I'd go through my whole bottle of gin, but it was dry January, and everybody just liked the shrub, which was fabulous.
When I was looking through all your drinks, I got excited because I love doing like tart cherry with club soda before bed just to get that like melatonin magnesium kick. So I was looking through some of your other ones because I love making mocktails and I'm pregnant right now. So like even more so loving it. So I'm
Congratulations.
excited to try it.
So if there was one story you would want to share with our listeners today, Mara, what would that be about your business that you just started in January?
I feel like
Could be good or bad. People always like to hear the challenging stories too.
Oh, I feel like my biggest challenge is finding time for everything. I'm a nurse, my husband's a fireman. We have 3 children they're all in sports and in school. And then we have our orchard, and we are constantly busy and finding time to do everything. And I don't like to do anything like halfway. I want to succeed. Like I want this business to succeed. And it doesn't have to, I by no means ever feel like I'm going to get rich from it, but I have to I feel like hopefully by the end of this year, I will be breaking even. I want it to succeed. And it's a product that I love and my family loves. And I have a really good time. Like I love everything. I love working in the orchard. I love doing the cherries. I love making the shrub. And I feel like probably my biggest, like the hurdle I have to get over is the selling it.
It's always hard to sell the stuff you create, isn't it? Sort of like an artist.
It is to like try to, because I almost feel like I'm selling myself, which is such a funny thing. And it's a product that I love, but I feel like that's my biggest hurdle right now. I'm hoping that if I get into the distributor, that will help the hurdle a little bit. And I feel like lots of people don't know what shrub is.
Hmm.
Yeah. But once they taste it, they know what it is. They're like, oh, I've had this before.
Yes, they do. Or they really don't like it because there's a lot of people that really don't like apple cider vinegar.
Oh,
And if
have
you
you
don't,
thought of any other products that you might do moving forward now that you sort of conquered the shrub
I don't
formulas and stuff like that?
know if I've conquered it yet. I don't know. I don't know what else I'll expand into. We are this year, we're doing, because we have so many apples, we found a gentleman who has a mobile juicer.
Mm.
He's juicing our apples and then pasteurizing them and then putting them in bladder bags. So we'll have like 5-liter bladder bags of apple cider.
That's
Yum.
good.
Yeah. Again, with my inability to waste anything. I was like, we have to use every single apple on every tree.
Will that be frozen then too, or just shelf stable?
It's shelf stable. He said it's shelf stable, which I'm gonna have to do a little more research because we're gonna do it in the next month, but it'll be shelf stable, he says, for like about 6 months.
Mm. You could probably freeze it too.
Yep.
So if you wanted to
Yeah.
freeze it, it'll be, a nice long shelf life and you can just pull out the bags and make shrub.
Mara, I wanted to share, just as you talk about different product line you might get into, we have a program actually sponsored through like our RFBC involvement. We created our Food and Ag Business Enhancement Program. And so through that program, we can help producers get in touch with the MSU Food Product Development Lab for recipe development, or even outside entities. You can have access to up to like $2,000 for recipe development. We've had to send a few people to Sarah at OSU for some of that. So just keep that in mind if you ever need assistance in product development, but you're not sure if that product is sustainable enough yet to put a bunch of money behind it. We can help you with that.
Yeah.
And you just talk to Jan about it and we'll get you in that program.
And I was thinking it would be really delicious to have like an apple cherry chutney.
Oh,
Ooh.
okay.
So you could potentially, like when you crush the fruit to get the juice out, then you have the pumice and you could use the cherry pumice with apples to create, it could be a low sugar jam. It's not really a jam, it's fruit spread, or it could be a chutney
Oh, that's
for
a
the
great,
holidays. A little bit of cinnamon, some onions, boom.
that's a fabulous idea.
Yeah. So we can help you figure that out. Do you have any final advice of people dreaming up a business, Mara?
Just keep trying. And I feel like having people taste, like experimenting and having people taste things and finding your route. And if you enjoy doing it, which I feel like I just took a class recently and it was like, if you're not making money from it, then it's a hobby. And as long as your hobby is something that you enjoy and it brings you happiness, which my shrub brings me so much happiness. And whether I'm making money or not, until it's not bringing me happiness, like I'll keep doing it.
That's great. That's great advice. So we just want to send customers and new fans to you directly. Can you just tell us one more time, what is the best way to order from you?
feelingvoxy.com.
Perfect. Well, we want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in and listening to the Meaningful Marketplace. And we love our food community and want to connect to you in person online. So reach out to Sarah and I via our Instagram of Meaningful Marketplace Podcast. We record Meaningful Marketplace Podcast live each week, and you can find us on all your favorite podcast platforms like iTunes, Spotify, and now on our own YouTube channel. We'd like to thank our production coordinator, Kayleen, and our audio engineer, Hailey. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, send us an email at booking@joyofcreation.com. Until next week, thank you all for joining us. Bye for now.